Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Free plasma, key to the universe. The principal fields. Create plasma. Plasma can become a self-sustaining star, or a proton or electron. Introduction of a second field. Field forces find their magnetic, gravitational positioning. Two fields with a gap creates free plasma between. Three plasmas form a free plasma at the common center. A fourth plasma allows the starship configuration with a free plasma core. An environment of tightly arranged plasmas appears as a solid structure. The nanomaterial process allows gaps in the structure for plasma flow. The gap inside the nanolayers creates free plasma in between.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 553rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 29th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this weekly series of Knowledge Seekers workshops. And once again, we have the honor of having Mr. Mehran Keshe as our guest and presenter today. And thank you, Mr. Keshe, for always being here for the last 552 Knowledge Seekers workshops. Promptly, I might add as well. Always on time. Thank you very much. Please begin the workshop.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers from Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back. And I hope, as usual, we'll learn something from each other. We are always wondering what happened when we create a direct line to our Creator, when we see ourselves elevated or we pass the barriers in the universe and unicorns, and we establish a field with our Creator, what we think, what we know, all the fields of the universe are connected to it, as is a plasma of creation itself. And what would it do? What changes will bring to us? What is the fear of the man? If we touch, we find a single line of fields which reaches it, would it change us? Would it elevate us? Would it bring another dimension into play? And as we know, as one of the scientists said, and as we always played with magnets, if we turn a magnet, a spherical magnet, the other spherical magnet which is with it, as twin part of it, will rotate. But it brings back a lot of deep thinking and understanding. And that is, we know us, our planetary system, the sun every 23 years changes polarity. And we are connected to it, but we don't know that. Our polarity doesn't change. Why? But the interesting thing is, we are so minute that the field just passes. The field, the strength of the change of the magnetic poles of the sun every 11.5 years does not touch any of us. We just know if something happened, there is something we discovered recently. But every 11 years, every 23 years, how come the Earth doesn't change polarity? What happened to us? And because it's such a big mass that we are part of it, we are not even considered as, the sun is considered to be 99% of the mass of the solar system. All this planetary system are just the dust, the speck of dust in its size, in its operation. But the interesting thing is, when it does every 11 years, when it changes its polarity, is this polarity is sequential with its twin star? Does it change over there? We know there is a twin star. We are aware of its existence. We have confirmation of it through disasters which has happened to us and the rest of it. But how come it changes with that, but it doesn't change us and the other planetary system? We have our own independent time of switching our polarity on this planet. What controls this change? And we say so many thousands of years, Earth polarity changes. We have evidence, we measure, we see the flow of the materials, we see in the layers of the soil, we can see that dated directly. But as the sun change of polarity does not touch the earth. So the change of polarity of the earth doesn't touch the man because you're so minute. We're exactly the same as the sun and the earth. But what happened if the line of magnetic field between the earth and the sun opens up? That there is no atmosphere. At the moment, we don't have any direct line connection to the sun. We just see field forces. There is no interaction whatsoever directly with the sun at all. We are a rotating object, and the sun is the rotating object in respect to the earth, and we are another rotating object, a plasma of the soul of the man. What is interesting is that when this changes polarity, this doesn't. This carries on with his work. And so is our soul. Our soul is a third party. The direction of the motion of the sun is opposite to the earth. If we look at the moon, moon rotates in opposite direction. In a way, if you look at it, it's the other way around for you not to get confused later on. I'll put them in the right way that you can see it. In a way, the sun goes anti-clock. The earth goes clockwise. That's why we have the horizon on the east. When we look at the moon, moon is anti-clock. But isn't the soul of the man another moon? So is the direction of the rotation of our soul, in fact, clockwise? It has to be. It has no choice. Because the fact is, it has to be anti-clock because we have to follow the law of physics. It cannot be exceptions. This brings a lot of understanding to the world of creation of the man. Because when the sun changes its polarity every 11 years, does not affect the earth. And the same change of polarity of the earth every so many thousands of years does not affect the man who live on it. The same, it doesn't affect the moon. It's something individual. But if Earth had a twin structure somewhere in the solar system, and we know there is one planet which actually goes opposite, but we know how they change polarity. But if we follow this pattern of work, which is in line with the work of the universe, what we see in macro is in micro. So we see the body to change, the soul of the man to rotate anti-clockwise. Then if you go back in the structure of the man, it brings a lot of understanding why our heart is on the left side, why we need the jolt of it every few seconds. Isn't that jolt the change of polarity which the twin sister takes, twin partner takes, in consideration of the rotation of the soul of the man's magnetic field? Isn't it why when we damage the heart, the soul disappears? because it lost its twin, it lost its operational control. Man looks at the heartbeat of the man for delivering blood, but it's a powerful magnetic field system, because when its work gets interrupted, we have a heart attack, we have a stroke. When the emotion gets interrupted in the soul of the man, in the dimension of his physicality, in the head of the man, can damage the heart. This brings a lot of understanding to us from the psychosomatic direction of the work of the man. Now, if we look at plasmatic structure of the body of the man, the heartbeat, the soul of the man, the direction and dimension of the rotation, the position of the heart, the heartbeat, then the world of the science of the body of the man totally changes. How far in line from the central line of the brain is the central line of the heart? Does the change in its position due to any reason brings a change in the shape and operation of the brain? It does. We have a stroke, the energy release so high when it goes up, always touches the left side of the brain. We see paralysis with a stroke usually on the left side. During the stroke, or because of the stroke, and during a heart attack. If you understand these things, a lot of the structure of how to release, control your central energy, we call the soul in the space, changes. The world of medicine will change. If you play with the field transfer in the brain of the man, you can realign the heart, even is on the left side, to move its energy to the side that is realigned directly with the physical structure, a spinal line of the man and the brain. One of the reasons that man dies so early, so fast, within 70, 80 years, is the position of the heart. Because it's not just pumping the blood, it has to keep realigned with the brain of the man, with the soul of the man, and the dimension of physicality of the man. Why so many people survive longer and longer? Have they ever considered the position of the heart in respect to central line soul of the man? You'll find an answer there, because it needs less energy. It doesn't need such a high heartbeat, and it changes it, because scientifically, the world of science tells us after so many million something heartbeats is the average heartbeat of your system, your motor stops. We have even calculated it, how many heartbeats and from what point we start thinking it's time to say goodbye. But what happened if the biggest question for man is, when in life or at point of death, you connect directly to the Creator? You're on the same direction of rotation. And would this create us a new dimension of understanding? What do we need to get rid of to be able to create this channel? We have to get rid of those things which us as human beings have created for ourselves. Extra atmosphere, emotion, attachment, and everything else. And if we manage, due to any condition, to get rid of this, and happen that we and the rays of the Creator finds direct line with us, what will happen to our soul? You think this is impossible, but we know it's possible. We've seen it. Our scientists scientifically have observed it. And we're waiting to see what is going to be the reaction of both the Earth and the Sun when they connected directly magnetic field to each other. We are waiting to see how the soul of the Earth in a coming time will respond to this event. When Earth lost all its plasmatic magnetic field strength in a way, we didn't lose our atmosphere, and it established a direct line from the Sun to the Earth in a very short time. We haven't seen any changes. We're still a year later observing it. And did its delivery of such a massive amount of field energy has brought a change to this planet since last year. I think maybe in 50 years, 100 years, scientists will look at the event in April of 2023 and the effect of the direct connection between the Earth and the Sun magnetic field. If we understand this, then us as humans will understand what happened when we get rid of all the attachment, this atmosphere of me and me aside, this dimension of the facade around the soul of the man, and we manage to create that dimension of connection with the Creator, how will we react? Scientists are observing and studying the effect of last year's event, when the Sun and the Earth managed to create a direct line of magnetic field to each other. As due to a massive solar eruption, with the strength of it, it pushed back the magnetic field of the what is called atmosphere around the Earth, and in this few second instance created the direct line. How much energy did we download from the Sun? What information did we get from each other? It's the first time we know scientifically have evidence of the mother kissing the child. That's all it is, feeling the warmth of the soul of the Sun. But what happened with us if we hit that point? Would we recognize it? Or this happened to all of us, where in fact the game is played in a different way, where we as humans, we lose this barrier and we have nothing to protect us as the blood flow at the point of death, and we become connected to the soul magnetic field of our planet. Then it comes a question. Would man at the point of death gets, as it loses its atmosphere magnetic field pressure, as we saw with the Sun last year, would this energy from the Earth, from the soul of man and the soul of the planet, pushes, dictates a new dimension and direction, in a way, kissing a child and letting it go. This become a push which propels the soul of the man in the open space of the universe for the child to find its place in the dimension of creation. In the last year event, the central system of the Earth, still had half of the pressure on the south side, on the southeast side. So it did not lose the totality. So it was still in charge, but we saw the connection from the North Pole directly to the sun. We received the immense amount of energy. Most of you remember this event when the what we call aurora moved down toward the central line to the equator. It moved down all the way in Northern Europe. We could see the aurora, if you remember. The sun flare was so huge, powerful, that it literally blew everything up, blew open the magnetic field connection of the Earth, creating that dimension of protection, and got in touch direct. It's the first time we have such a record. But we always say, when you want to understand what you don't see in micro, you do it in macro, and vice versa. But at the moment of the life of the man, we have this heartbeat which creates that pumping of the second soul, continuously holding the soul of the man attached to itself, and like a dangling belt has a little space to move. The brain cannot move. The soul of the man cannot move. So something has to give in that position. So in a way, the winding, dangling, the little pendulum on the grandfather's clock, which is the heart of the man, the motion he has in the heart, the movement he makes the heart, is that grandfather's little dangling pendulum in the clock of the life of the man. And the most important thing for man to understand is it the energy taken by the soul of the man which stops the clock pendulum to swing, or does the swing of the pendulum due to weakness of this cage and the structure, it stops the work and separation of the soul of the man from his physicality. And then it comes at that point when the man's defense system, because the pendulum stops and it stops the secondary system, which is the blood flow, the cage of the soul of the man releases, and man moves in the same direction as the sun, but not in the same direction as the soul of the planet. Does that is attracting the soul of the man to itself as two opposite magnets? Or is that because of its what we call rigidity of the time and the place and the space of the fields of the earth creates a spring for the soul of the man to spring out into the space of the universe to find its place according to what we call the field strength of the soul, which the man has gathered during the lifetime. In a way, we become a slingshot piece where God knows where we land, because the magnetic field of the soul of the man in rotational dimension should have been attracted by its creator, which is the soul by law of physics. But due to his vulnerability and the position, these fields become the rejector of the soul of the man into the infinity space of the universe. If you understand this part of technology, if you understand the interaction of the plasma fields of the whole system, a new science will emerge, which is emergence of the positioning of the what we call the structure of the physicality of the man and the structure of the what we call the soul of the man. And if you understand this, if you go deep enough to it, you can predict in the depth of the fields of the every nitty-gritty from DNA to the cell by changing the magnetic fields, to create a change in RNA with an energy pack, which will affect what we call the DNA of the man, which in fact, how you learn to control the dimension of the speed of rotation of your soul, would allow you to manifest yourself in another position by transmutation in the shape, place, and position which you can survive anywhere in the universe. This is, in fact, our soul is a chameleon. It's the heart of that chameleon. And how atmosphere around it reacts, this chameleon will show its field interaction with that atmosphere. This is how you take shape in a space. This is how the future development of the technology will make that fish tank, that you see yourself, how you're going to end up in that planet, depending on the strength of your soul, how much good you've done, how much bad you've done, what you have given from your soul that you have not much to be left to interact with. If you understand all the little words which I've said in the past 5 or 10 minutes in detail, you have found the path to your creator. You have found how to break that magnetic field around your soul, which keeps you away in reaching, in a way directly connecting to your creator. I made man in the image of myself. And the physicality of the man was created by the field strength of the soul of the man. And the environment of the womb of the mother dictates the shape of the man. When you arrive in another destination, the environment, the womb of the planet, in interaction with your soul, decides the shape of your physicality. As your soul has to survive on a point of arrival, in a position of arrival. But in fact, when you get there, it's just a nightmare. You wake up, nobody can hear me. Nobody can understand me. And I didn't look like this on the sun. If the planet is liquid and you can look into the lake and see your face, you run like mad. I didn't look like this. I'm aware of my soul, but the physicality is not what I'm used to. And then you understand in more depth how the technology of the future, in development of an understanding of the transmutation, will affect the whole process of bringing this technology for mankind to become ready for it to understand. Many people, once it becomes public, will raise fear amongst the people because they know their souls cannot go in the commitment of the faults they've done by their physicality to deter the others to reach the point of maturity of their soul. As I said before, we are testing new systems that allows you to expand your soul beyond, and in that process to bring a cycle of the change in your physicality and soul of physicality and the soul of the man. We can create conditions that when you get to that point, you can see if you can reach to the point of, in a way, detachment from the fields of the creation to become to see your future. What they'll be, because those you see in the present life have already passed part of it. And you're seeing for what you're going to see is already been decided. But the connection of the soul of the man, with the connection of the soul of the planet, with the connection to the soul of the solar system, and then to the galaxy, all has a sequential event, and no one can change it, even though we think we are in charge of, we are in control of. We dictate the future. There's a very interesting test that you knowledge seekers can do and learn from it in a very deep way. Put a cup of gas and rotate it clockwise over your microphone and drink the water. Then fill up the water again, or new water. Don't use the water which you tasted and took the energy when it was going clockwise. Now with the new water, put it on top of your microphone and watch. You'll wish that the system will go anti-clock and the other one's gone clockwise. Taste both waters. Drink it and see what is the difference between the two. Which one is the food and which one is the medicine? Which one gives you what pleasure and which one does take the pleasure from you? Which one are both there to serve you and providing you with the facilities of the material to exist and to survive? It'll be interesting what you report back. The next step is when you put your water, do not put it directly on the magnet material, the box. Keep a distance from it. If you hold it in the right hand or you hold it in the left hand and then taste the water, you have to remember that you have to be in a position to be secondary to the structure of this planet, as the system has already changed itself. Then tell yourself what's the difference between the two. And then move the same water to the right hand and do the same thing. And see how you feel, what change brings to you. I think many of you will be shocked. Many of you would not believe that just changing the hand and changing the position of a cup can create so much change in emotion and understanding. In a way, you should be able to feel the condition of the heart attack and the condition of the good life as the magnetic field of your soul and your heart will dictate the connection and correction on the material of the detector. If you come for the section or session for plasma technology next time, bring your magnets. And remember that which way your maggots are twisted first and to which material they belong to. I would like to see the show in the mind of your knowledge seekers. The emotion and realistic response. Then you can go to the next step and try another step in the interaction of the soul of the man with the soul of the creator. In the upcoming sessions of September, I'll put you through this position. I force it, that you feel the change with your physicality. When we bring everything to zero and you start the structure of the life around your system. If mankind understands the totality of what's entailed, man will understand the process of creation. Man will understand how to transmute, how to reach the soul of the creator. The lesser you carry, the lesser fields you have created amongst yourself and the soul, the sooner the man will create the connection with his creator. Detachment is not that get rid of your clothes and the wealth. Detachment is to get rid of the fields which you have created within you, that you can at least stand a chance to create that line of connection. The reason I brought this topic up today is that you have to start learning the process of magnetic fields. You've been taught a few pieces to play by magnets and that's it, you get bored. In this place, there's no time for play. And you need to learn and you need to be part. Understanding a field of the creation is the must for those who become the passenger of the universe. And you get it wrong, you might one day hit the ceiling of a planet that nowhere else you can go to. Many times in trials on the Fridays, we have set out to push the soul of the man out, to give it enough energy to know. And in last Saturday meeting, we moved it in a way that we opened the gate and see where the man goes. What man does with his dimension of physicality, and what will be the next step in the dimension of the creation for the soul and physicality of the man. I hope you understood simple teaching of the space, time, and the sun. And I hope you can apply it when it comes time for transmutation in how to create and establish a line of communication with your creator, that his wish for you to be where in the which universe of its creation will become obligation and part of the structure of the creation of the next generation of men. Thank you very much for today, and I hope you understood. And if you haven't listened to teaching 2 or 3 times, you understand it fully. Rick, take us for a break and we'll come back.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let me get my screen up here. Cute. Okay, this is the 553rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 29th, and we'll take a short break. And after the break, there will be an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. And I'll remind our attendees here in the live Zoom meeting that they can raise their virtual hands and we can allow you to open your microphone. Otherwise, you can put questions either in the chat or preferably in the Q&A part of the Zoom or in the chat in the YouTube. All right. We'll take a short break now and be back with the second half.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Introduction to the new Keshe Foundation YouTube channel in 2024. New space era and energy for peace. Energy of plasma. When man discovered atomic and nuclear science, with it came the wars and the threat of annihilation of humans. In this channel, we open new horizons and bring forth not only new theories, but new systems and technologies which have been developed and marketed in the past decade. We go into the inner sanctums of neutrons, protons, and electrons, and we find only magnetic fields, their interactions, and what is created from these interactions. We find the origin of the essence of life, that everything is created from the interaction of fields. We are redefining energy and plasma state as a magnetic field in motion, the energy of peace, becoming a gift to humanity, the source of prosperity of mankind, and independence. The use of fuel and rocket technology has become obsolete. The new age of Keshe space plasma technology uses magnetic fields of matter, not the matter itself, and cosmic rays to create motion, food, water, medicine, and more.
Okay, back again at the 553rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 29th. And because it's the second half, we generally have the questions from Mr. Keshe, but also it's an opportunity for Mr. Keshe to relay any new news to us and otherwise topics that he would like to discuss before the questions. So, Mr. Keshe, what do you have in your pocket today to bring up?
And the magic box.
Yes.
There is not much, as many of you know. wisdom and what we call understanding that has brought us what I call the peace of mind. And as many of you know, past 2 weeks, we have transferred our emotion and soul. The way the Universal Council works, we work in the same way to achieve a stepping stone towards another bit to bring peace to corner of this planet. And we had the pleasure of our request to be heard by the Khamenei of Iran in our request directly to his position to withdraw from war and expanding the war and use the tool of advanced technology in exchange for talks in peace. And we had the pleasure to receive that message yesterday. As many of you know, Iran has stepped away from war and instructed the Iranian nuclear negotiators to go back in and find a way with America that through it we find a way peace in the Middle East. Without America, there is no solution. And I'd like to thank those who conveyed and those who worked in the background through whatever to bring the truth, the horrendous position that Iran got itself into by what I call temperamental hot-headedness for a few seconds when somebody got killed or whatever. And as I said to our people and those who work in the background with us yesterday and today, we have achieved the first steps of goal of peace. As this time we'll negotiate with the Americans on a part of Iran nuclear weapon technology and space technology. And we're sure a solution can be found. And bringing man close to the nuclear war threats of the war of nuclear has moved back. Huge steps. And this time we'll for sure reach the conclusion and beginning of a start of the world of peace through religions. And the next step for man to be ready to become a passenger of the universe. You got to understand, everything is connected. And as I said, strongly literally cleared it in one of the teachings 2-3 weeks ago, that will move, and with us moving, technology will move. And the wisdom was sitting within Iran, and we managed to change direction by the wish and the wisdom. And this is how you as individuals have to understand. Your wish is your command. As long as your command, your wish, which is the energy, brings benefit to the others, brings elevation of the soul of the others to bring peace. And that's all you needed to be done. And I hope, as knowledge seekers, you will understand this, and especially for Universal Council, to be able to understand the power of what we call a wish of the man in every level. And I hope we move to the next stage, that we back off from fighting and we start exchanging technologies and understanding. In a ways, thanks to many souls and the wisdom which was put forward. And now we see the heavy-headedness of the religions, and those who fight for religions have a step back, one step. Next step is to bring technologies that forces nations to accept new technologies to create new life that we move forward. On the other hand, as you know, we have been launching a series of new gases, new materials for you to test, to change directions in social structure, as we explained about the in-depth in situation of last week with the two products launched. Keshe Foundation this week has launched a further two material. I don't know if they have reached the website of the Keshe Foundation to be promoted. But this is again is another structure in bringing social with what we call emotional and physical together. Social psychosomatic materials which affects the society, affects the people we are around. We have launched a new material, what we call Trinity detachment, which means what you're attached to do on a regular basis as part of being like addicted to a certain pattern of life. This could be anything. And this change of addictions, the change of conditions, brings a change to the society because it will change the people around us, it changes the position around us. And in a way, brings a condition to the end to the repetition. This is in a way in conjunction with the other two which we launched last week and the one we've done before that, used in combination with each other in a structural way, will bring many changes. Both in the psychological, in the emotional, in the physical, and in the society. When you are, let's say, addicted to cocaine or heroin, you affect the life of other people, your children, your sibling, your society. So an addiction has an effect on all of it. It's another, as we explain, how the menopause has come down and changes the whole pattern of a family and the society. These are the same thing. How can we detach from them? How can we stop the repetition? How can we become detached from repetition that brings a dimension to the work of the soul of them? And how it will change the next step. The reason for this is when we go to space, there are viruses which behave worse than the addiction. Could be anything. It's for the man to find out how to handle, how to get detached from this. We have seen one of these, what I call attachment structures, very much like Corona. These new materials is for you to learn to teach and then to move on. Use in combination with the other twin sets. This is not anymore one thing. You will understand in coming weeks, we have created a combination of what we call twin gansets, which when put together collectively at the end of the time, when we complete with it, and it's put in a way very much like the field creation systems which we sell in Keshe Foundation and put in order, the inner function will bring peace, will bring change to every man who understands how to use them. In a way, when you use them in the field replication units of the Keshe Foundation, understanding the work of the Trinity sets, placing them in the right order, it brings you that position which bring the change, bring totality change in the whole structure of the soul, the physicality, and soul of physicality of the man. First one was reproduction, the cycle pain. Next one was the pause pain. This week is detachment. Would this detachment brings man the freedom? Or would this detachment brings man to understand what it needs to be detached from? Every addiction is a repetition of confirmation of attachment. And once you bring the soul in this dimension and direction, then you need to understand how this needs strength, change of the strength. This is why in the teaching of today, I explained what happened to the earth when it was directly connected to the sun for a few seconds, or a few hours, or a few minutes last year. Did it bring a new change in the structure, inner structure of the earth, in changing dimension and bringing more strength directly from the source of it, from its creator? And what would be the result? We call this one the Ganser of stamina. How you increase the strength to be strong in the strength of the soul, that you create elevation of the physicality. Then you understand, in the coming time, these combination sets are to bring a total change, total trust in the strength of, very much when you connect this, the stamina gases with the menopause, with the cycle, what we call ganses, twin ganses, then you understand what it means. I can produce, I trust, I do not need to change, and I have the strength to do it. Now you see the pattern of materials we are putting out step by step, creating an independent soul and a strong soul to be able to go through the transmutation. I can go, I can release myself from the tangle of physicality, because I know when I go, I have the field strength to come back. I am in charge. I make the decision for me. Many of you might try it because, oh, I'm addicted to cigarette, or I'm addicted to chocolate, I'm addicted to cocaine, I'm addicted to sex, or whatever, which we all get addicted one way or another to each other. But the collection of what has come as a new series of twin sets is for changing a number of souls together in the dimension and direction of what is to come. This is not anymore a cancer of this and that. These are the structure will change the society. These are social, psychosomatic. And you can see the pattern, what is coming. There are a few more pieces. When all these put together, the knowledge seekers understand how to use it. We bring it into the remote system, cosmic ray headphones and the mobile phones. Then you understand how we are about to bring the change. You understand the two new lines which is put out today. in conjunction with the others, it brings in the need for man to change his dimension and direction. And understand how everything is connected to each other, and how we are about to change that step in what you call the RNA and DNA of a man to make it detached from many things. In the next couple of weeks, we introduce 2 more of this set. And I'm sure many of you are guessing what it could be, and it could be quite right. What we give, we have to give it the support to exist. And in the coming month session, on the Friday of the, what we call 3rd week of the month, we start introducing that part of the technology, and then with it, we start bringing the evolution, making man ready for transmutation through understanding of the whole structure of the life. I hope those of you who understand what is to come, to stay and understand more how transmutation can be achieved. And in part of the teaching of today, I have opened this chapter very clearly, if you understood. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. There's a number of questions, and we have a hand up here with Dimitri. So let's begin with Dimitri and see where we go from there.
Thank you, Rick. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. With today's teaching, Mr. Keshe, when you were speaking about the heart, my question is, when the heart moves closer to the central line of the soul of the man, contributing to increased time the soul of the man spends in the physicality, staying within the cage that is created, but at the same time, it's actually out of the cage, taking care of the totality of souls. When the heart moves closer to the central line, does the heart become part of a free plasma, or a free plasma on its own? Thank you.
It's always a free plasma. It's just the line of interaction. And it's very interesting that I've done a lot of work on this research, done a lot of observation. Certain position of heart with the position of the, what we call the soul of the man, creates a specific behaviors. And that behavior becomes part of social structure behavior of this. We are all different heights. We are all born 9 billion different. We are not exactly all the same. But none of us have the same position and heart position and structure and a distance between our heart and our soul. And this is where we are made in different ways. When you look at a few days, maybe in the womb of the mother, you see the heart, but you don't see the soul. In the coming time, we're working with the scientists maybe next few months, very soon. Now that we understand that the soul of the man is within the structure of the brain of the man, to detect, to explain the birthright. Even though egg and the sperm have their own soul, with understanding that the soul of the man is within the physicality of the man, within the brain of the man, and having the position of the heart, at the very outset, we see the heartbeat and rotation of it. We can say when abortion is not allowed. Then is the decision of the mother. Nowadays, they give us a figure of 8 weeks, 10 weeks. We can have abortion because of the safety of the child and the mother. But in fact, man has to go into the essence point of when the soul of the man is created. And that point, no man is allowed to destroy life, to destroy a soul.
Is that 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks from...
You will let the science to bring it in. We will collaborate. We are collaborating in another dimension. This is very clear. And once that soul is created with a heartbeat, decide the shape, the color, every structure of the man to be born in the dimension of physicality. Plus, the structure of the fields of the womb of the mother. The womb of the mother is another planet on its own. It's another soul structure which your soul is in it. You are that moon, the earth between the moon and the sun. You are both going the same direction. The soul of the child is on its own, in opposite. Even then, if you understand it deeper, why do the children turn around in the womb at the time of birth? And why the children of Mitra are born in one position from the point of inception till the birth of this planet. In the coming time, the doctors will tell you this child is a child of the soul, or this child is in dimension of physicality. These are proven science, is not something which is scientifically we can prove. This is something that in the future, science has to bring it out, because our people don't accept just the talk. Show me, I believe it, instead of saying it is that you have to educate yourself to understand it. We change the position. We teach it, and it's for the science to observe it. Children of Mitra will be as clear as a day and night in the womb of the mother. No one can cheat. And then they'll be born with the behavior which suits the universe and not the space cap of the earth. The position of the heart, the position of the soul, dictates the behavior of the man on this planet. The children of Mitra are detached from this cycle, even though they manifest themselves in the shape of the man or another. We will see evolution once to be opened the space. Is the realities which we have to handle. It's the only way we become part of a universal community. Most of the created things in the universe don't have the physicality of the man for creation of life. They have learned through transfer of energy, transfer of the field, what we call interaction of the soul.
Mm.
So just sit in the park, go and sit on the highest street in a chair and observe the behavior of the height, the shape, and the position of the brain of the man, and roughly estimate what the soul position in the heart is and what's the behavior. There are very, very few patterns. We never observed it, but if you observe it, you see this will behave like this will behave like this, and they all behave. When you're aware of it, you understand it. You know, you sit on a bench on a bus stop in a busy street. One is black, one is brown, one is white. If you understand what we see, what we understand, you say, this guy is a cheater. This guy does this. That guy is this. And go to the man and says, has your husband ever cheated on you? She says, yes. Go to the person and say, is this such a behavior you have? You're a very angry man. The wife says, yes. We are not educated to observe the behavior too. Behavior comes from the position of the field energy between the two, nothing else.
If the heart, excuse me, if the heart is positioned slightly closer to the soul of the man, the conduct of
it creates a very short man.
Oh, okay.
It creates a very short man, and depends how they're connected. You can see how the behavior will be. Let me give you an example of the statistics. According to the research statistics, a lot of research has been done. As high as 95%, there are very few exceptions, as far as 90%, 95% of all men who are shorter more than 3 centimeters than their partner, they're unfaithful to their partner.
No way, really?
It's a statistics, it's research statistics.
Whoa.
Why? Why? The rate of the unfaithfulness increases as this runs up to 10 centimeters with the husband. Why? The man is a breadwinner. The man is supposed to be, he's always looking up to the woman, and he's always behaved subordinate. He has to prove somewhere himself to be the boss, to be the giver, whatever. You understand?
Mm.
The situation changes with the woman. Totally different. Women with the taller men, more than certain centimeters or within certain centimeters, behave totally different. They look up to the man because they've always been small. They always looked at their father. He's always there. They love and respect. And you see that relationship between the father and the son now because of the height changes to the man and a woman. There's a lot of studies done. If you go and find, not just cheap researchers which is done, like Canadians do a lot of these researches, 25, 30 years research. They follow one PhD into another sometimes. And Swiss do some of these researches in a very remote way, but their own intelligence, their own understanding. And South Africans used to do these kind of researches. Not these just for somebody who wants to get a PhD or to be called something. Long-term researchers unravels huge knowledge about social structure. And then when you look at it, it explains about the soul, position of the soul, and society, social structure of it. I read a lot of scientific papers which I look at the psychosomatic of the social structure. And I don't read the whole thing because they want to pad it up. I look for specific things in conclusions of what we achieved, what was the target is irrelevant because that's what we wanted to, where we actually found something else. But data which gives us an understanding of social structure, because with this technology, we have to handle the social structure. We're not dealing with you or your mental case or you have depression. Why the whole society changes to go into war? What is the position of the leaders? How can we change the leaders that we can change the structure? Now, with the elections in America, the country is ready to go through a revolution because one man is pushing it. And he's very woke, but if I don't come president, there'll be a bloodbath. That's his word. Look at the shape of him. Look at how he stands. I'm not American, but I can tell you what this guy is. Look at the position of the eyes, because the eyes are the eye into the soul of the man. Look at the other lady on the other side. She's not so perfect either. There is a reason we are physically structured the way we are. I told you before. Look at the shape of the hand, the fingers. And then you understand the soul of the man dictates everything about the structure of the man. And if you find the distance and the position of a heart and a soul, you can tell what the man will look like when it manifests itself in the dimension of physicality. The thing is, we are too short-sighted and we overlook a lot of things, but once you learn it, you don't need to overlook it because it's there, you just tick the box. You know, it's I always say it's like the London police. The London police are trained. I used to live in England, unfortunately, so long. And I was part of my education. I had a bunch of police people in our group all the time in the education side. And one of the things they teach to London police, especially those who operate in central London area where there are a lot of tourists, when they walk on the street of London, Oxford Street, Knightsbridge, and that part of the world, you understand where it is, where there are a lot of tourists, they look for one thing. South American looking, and the index finger and the next finger to it about the same size. That's all they look for. They're pickpockets. The two finger, if one is small, if you put the finger in a pocket, it slips if you're trying to remove a wallet from somebody's pocket. They play with the fingers, that the two fingers are equal, and when you go in the pocket, you grab tight and you can come out.
Wow.
And that's the training.
The police are trained to actually look for that.
That police officers trained for these kind of things. Of course, the way they're trained to pick up drug traffickers, yes. As part of my ex-life, before I walk away from education, what you call it, my business life, we had a very close connection with the British police and drug trafficking. And I learned a lot from them, how they recognize by standing who to pull, and they bet on each other, their success rate. Because each person of behavior does it for certain characteristics, for certain reasons. There are odd ones out, but majority fit into. It was very interesting. I explained to you to understand. Those of you who remember 1980s, 1990s, There were what's called Ford cars with a back open. You could load things in it. And the police of England literally knew these cars are only used majority by drug trafficking or smugglers. An interesting thing was they used to go, those days was cheap. So there were regulations, rules across the channel. You could bring cigarettes or whatever. And with it used to come drugs. That these cars are solely used for trafficking. And what it was, most of them had a cut on the seat, and the driver used to sit on the drug, on what they call the drug or whatever. And they always pick these up. And I asked the officers, I was in Dover, we used to work with, I said, how do you know this guy could be innocent? He says they fidget a lot because the seat is cut, is not comfortable. When we hold them for a long time, we hold them for things, they move to find comfort in their buttocks. And we know this guy, the guy, we just take them out, we pull the chair, and the drug is there. You understand? So behavior brings certain structure, brings certain behaviors. Physicality is the same. Any other question?
One more question, Mr. Keshe. It's a very quick one. And it's to do with the mayhem that is going on at the moment. What are your thoughts on how European countries are turning anti-Muslim as well as anti-immigration, preventing mass migration? So much so that the Polish government has said it will shoot Muslims if they try to cross their border illegally. This madness. What are your thoughts on this?
The time has changed quite a lot. And all of it is because of the West. They came to us to invade us. They came to us to rob us. And this time has robbed so much out of us in Middle East and in Arab countries that now that there is nothing left, we are looking for somewhere to live to survive. And now we become the victims. And now we become the wrongdoers. We didn't go to invade Lebanon. We didn't go to invade Libya. We didn't go to invade Iraq. You came to our land. You destroyed what we built over thousands of years. You left nothing for us to live with. We go back to the people who took it from us, at least to find peace with. In my message to the Ayatollah of Iran 3 weeks ago was very clear. We cannot lose our nation for one Arab guy. Taken us 2,500 years to build this. We can't get our refineries, our power stations, our structures to be destroyed because somebody wants to get revenge on the cousin. As Iranians, we are aware of, and we stand by that. And made it very clear with no shadow of a doubt what is going to be the outcome of Iran if such an attack has taken place on Iran, by Iran against Israel. I advise Ayatollah to take the path of peace, to go for technological change. Now we are nuclear. We can talk different language than 6 months ago. Because we didn't want another cycle of Iranians escaping and then being shut at borders. We see the future, and we see the ones who want to create that future. And the only way it is to change it. You have to understand the Polish, Germans have started doing the things, everything else. We, Keshe Foundation, because I'm Iranian, we are under a lot of pressures. They're finding it every way to close our accounts, anything, find an excuse. But in time they lose, they understand exactly what they're going to lose. When I came to England, 1970s, it was a, what they call, they were proud if they had an Iranian, a Persian as a friend. They used to take you to their homes, you know, we have a Persian friends, blah, blah. And by change of time and the revolution, we became terrorists. We are still the same people. It's just what they perceive to do, what they perceive to make. And we've seen the far right winning the European Parliament in the past few months. And this is all coming out of that far right movement, nothing else. We see in Germany the same place. We see in England is running through the same thing because the far right, and we've seen this if you were my age, around 1970, 77, 78, 79, we saw this cycle in England in a much worse than what it is now. There was a party called National Front. They even painted British flag on top of the minis, hundreds of them. And they bought these minis and they painted that they are, you know, far right, blue color, usually they were. And then the police found out and they saw the problems coming, how the attacks comes and everything. They confiscated all these, what they call it, minis, and the government got them, whoever bought it had to repaint it. Every time there is a social pressure, inflation. Now we see problems in Germany because Germany is a very much car industry nation, and now not getting chips. A lot of Mercedes, BMW workers are short of work. A lot of things has been shortcutted, and then it goes through other things. The energy is diverted to blame someone, the Muslims and the rest of it. And those who are opportunistic are using that position and the power. You destroy their homes, you bomb their homes. Where do you want to go? They're looking for a new home. But this is what we see in the scene and what it will be to be. Keshe Foundation, just because I'm Iranian, has huge pressures from the government of Austria to the banking system of Europe. I mean, we don't talk, we observe, we tolerate, but we know what sits behind it. Does not matter if you carry Austrian passport, British passport. They look at your color and they've decided what to do. If you go into the history of Iraq, during the First, Second War, a lot of Polish women escaped into Iran. And these people, a lot of them women, because all the men were killed in the war and came, not being able to survive, they became prostitutes. We have a district in Tehran, which is Polish prostitute area. But that was the only way they could. And now these people have become part of the Iranian society after second, third generation. When you walk the streets of Tehran, you can say which one is the Polish connection from Polish mother. And there's certain reservation for these people because they have tendency to line in with the Americans. And we never separated them, but we observe their behavior in a national intelligence way. We never shot them. The only time the Polish women were killed in Iran during the Second World War, when the Americans drove to through the, what they call it, area, because an American soldier was killed. They were not touched by Iranians. Did we shoot them? No. Did we bring a change to them? No. Did we do that with the Jews when we brought them? And we do it with the Christians when we brought the Armenians into Iran? No. It's the perception of how the society brings to change, or for leaders to change their position. One of Iranian prime ministers said, a nation does not need a wise king. A nation does not need a wise prime minister. A nation needs a wise man, its citizens. And unfortunately, we have lost all three in Europe at the moment because of the economical situation. And immigrants and foreigners, does not matter where you are, in Africa, in Europe, in America, in Asia, always are the shortcuts. They take the shortest stay when there's economical or political change. And now we are going through that phase. In 2 or 3 years' time, this will be over. We saw with Idi Amin in Africa in the 1970s, the short stick fell on the Indians and they kicked all the Indians out of Africa. Plain laws came. England before 1972, 73, hardly any African, hardly any Indians. All the Indians with China, with England took to Africa to colonize. Idi Amin kicked out. They all had a British passport. England had to accept them. They shipped them. Plain laws came in. Suddenly, England became land of Indians, and when they came, they brought their families with them from India. This is one of the reasons you see such a high population, and now you have a prime minister Indians in England. And now every time it gets tough, they go against them, but in a way, they've been the tools of. Statistically, in Germany, there is huge number of Turkish descendant children, but the fathers were never given the German passport. These are the people who came to Germany and built Germany on the back of the Second World War. The way now we bring Chinese or whatever, in that time, Turks were near, they were brought, they built the country, but if all of them had children from German women, the fathers were never given the German passport. And those children now are coming out from the Turkish father, grandfather, and nobody knows about it. A very large percentage of children born in Germany after the Second World War are of Turkish descent. But they carry German passport as a mother. It was set up that. So now, how do we handle it? These are temporary time. Well, now we kick all the Turkish and the Muslims out of Germany. Do they know so many percentage of them are actually German name, but actually Turkish descent? We have the same in England. And I'm sure you see it right across the world. We have to live on the condition of one planet, one nation. We are welcome wherever we go. Because we are not a burden to the nation. We are a pleasure to be part of a nation. We'll see this will change, and these things has gone through for decades and centuries with mankind. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Okay, thank you, Dimitri. We have a number of questions, and I think we'll start with the practical questions about some of the products that you mentioned and so on. We have a question from anonymous attendee in the Q&A who asks...
Who's done this before, didn't we?
Pardon me?
Who's this one?
I'm not sure. It just says anonymous attendee, and there's no name attached to it. I don't see anonymous attendee in our list. So they may have come in as anonymous attendee or somehow changed their name for the Q&A.
Okay.
The question is, does
If the question we would like them to answer, or we take it as a non-question. Carry on.
Sorry, I missed that. Could you say that again?
We'll see what the question is, and then we decide if we answer to somebody who doesn't exist.
Right. So it's a question about the Twinity Stamina product, the GANs that we had a look at on the screen. I can get that up in a minute here. Does it work for smokers, drug addicts, masturbators? What is the shelf life? After I use it for a while, when I don't want to use it anymore, can I give it to someone else, such as parents, family members, etc., to use?
The stamina is not for this job. You're talking about the detachment. And you have to understand how to use it. And we have introduced a new structure of the use of this the gas water. For that, you have to look into the, what you call, the detachment, and not into the stamina.
Okay, is there a shelf life to it? Does it
no
last forever?
No, do not share. Do not ever share any of the
No, I mean, does it last forever though for personal use, let's say?
It has a time as long as the gas survives, stays, but the gases have a dimension of changing energy. But these 20 sets do not share, especially if you hold it in your hand. Do not share. It's like they're very much in this section, very much like the paint pen. If you understand it, the process, the Trinity to do with what you call the last week set. Those you can use it, but don't change it. You cannot change it because one is for female, one is for male. But the interaction of the two creates a new dimension of energy between the two. If you're a husband and wife and use one of each, you will feel the change. We know this, we've done this, we know exactly what will create. We never discussed it. But those of you who took, what do you call it, a flagpole, and you don't get one for your wife, you'll find out it changes, it brings a totally different dimension to one who uses it. Even changes, one says, the atmosphere of the house. The relationship in the house changes to a beautiful dimension. Is the characteristic of creating social structure. We've done a lot of work into this. It's very interesting how things turn up with these twin sets. The last week twin sets is an amazing. if you're a couple. And the what do you call, the stamina is good with those two, very much so. The what we call detachment is to let go of certain things which are connected to rapidly. Even people with emotion of everything else, they'll find it. You'll see the change. They start getting dispatched from next week or the week after, once they're produced completely. And then we'll see what comes out from the things. It's very much the new system. You all know that Keshe Foundation has got a what you call it, a policies which we put out a year ago. If you buy a policy, you have to attend 2 1-hour sessions a year into the systems. And then because we evolving, it changes the system. And this morning we received one of the most amazing things what this system has done. I cannot read it to you, the gentleman knows who he is. But this is the second, third time we have seen a physical change using these systems, being part of the structure of these new changes. And when I was reading it this morning, when it was received, it really, really brings home how beautiful this technology is. I'm sure the knowledge seekers on the line, if they want to say what happened to them. And 3 people in the last session last Saturday have seen a physical change in their life. We changed the parameter in our system. If you were on the system last Saturday, the structure that the system used has switched slightly because it was time to change in a new position. And we've seen how people on Saturday session, these are the people who were missing from the Friday before. So we arranged a Saturday for them, as you know, some of you joined in. They have totally changed physically. And that was the whole manifestation of transmutation. And now we see how people go through the soul and come back to the dimension of physicality and they repair their body. We've had many of these in the past. But now with a new system, much, what you call it, in line, not more powerful, more in line with the soul of the man. Now we see, when I was telling you years ago in this, that you expand your soul and when you come back into it, you can change the, what you call, the your physicality with it. I wish the knowledge seeker was here to tell you what happened to it. And it can be done. It's not the power of the system did something. We are perfecting the art of, you have a cancer, you go through the system, your soul, if it's in line with your soul of physicality, if the wish and sincerity of giving what we call love, even to yourself, to existence, will change your body. Because you do it, not us. We just allow that. When you sleep, you just expand through the soul, through the head of the man. And you pass through. And if anyone reaches the point that they live in a specific way, you can see it's happened. It's not the first time. It's happened more or less, most probably every day of the life of this planet has happened to somebody or the other, but we just call it, or by magic or something strange happened. Because what now we learn to do it, control it, is back to the same situation, the healing of the body by yourself, not by anybody else. And now with the new system, we see. It's the same with cancer. We are stepping one step closer to understanding of the work, the life of the cancer, not work of the cancer. how cancer lives, a cancer cell, how a cancer tumor lives in the body of the man. The condition of its creation. This technology has taken me maybe 20 years to develop, and we are in one of the most beautiful stages of understanding the life of the cancer's entity. And the reason for its manifestation, and the reason for its immigration across the body. And with combining the two sides of technology together in emotion, soul, and soul of physicality, understanding it, it's a matter of weeks before we go most probably public with it, that every doctor has to do certain parameter work to literally, as our friend said, the Polish government, was it, shooting the immigrants? Here we don't shoot anything. We give them a welcome party and they will change. We know, we understood the psychosomatic of the cancer for decades, and many times I explained about it. But now it was the problem of what we call finding the answer to the confirmation of existence of it, which now we think we have achieved it. And we go with a blueprint one day, most probably, across millions of people. They can do it at home. They don't need us. The way we showed you to the maglev, most probably, if everything we get right, maybe 100, 200, 1,000 people with the cancer, even the stage 4 cancer, can go online and watched by their doctors, monitored by their doctors on the x-rays. They can create a condition of body that the cancers, you find the answer in the soul of the man, and they will not be there. And it's the stage we understand these things, we understand now very, 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 very well. And as I said, thanks to the Creator for opening the door of knowledge. Because when you understand it, it's so beautiful. And when you can implement it to bring a change, is more beautiful than anything else. And you have to understand what you connect to what, and what's the reason of it. And is my soul happy with this change? That's the first question you ask before you do the thing. And not that I do it, it'll be okay. Those of you who suffer from attachment, repeated attachment to certain materials or conditions or emotion, try it and see what you'll find out about yourself. Any other question?
Yes, we have a question from Stefania, from either her or the Italian community, regarding abortion and what you said earlier. What happens when a woman decides to have an abortion when the heart is still beating? If the what happens to the child's soul when it has been aborted? Where does the soul go? Is the mother still connected to it? And can the mother change the position of the child that has been aborted and bring the balance back to the child that wasn't born?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. What happens when a woman decides to have an abortion when the heart is still beating of the child? What happens to the child's soul that has been aborted? Where does that soul go? Is the mother still connected to it? And can the mother change the position of the child that's been aborted? Bring balance back.
This question has been asked many times by the mothers who had abortion. It's not the first time I faced this question. And in the way I answer the question in the past few minutes, usually we do not see the creation of the soul till about 14 weeks. The guidelines is 10 weeks for the mother. This is part of that's a legal guideline. But if you have not reached that stage, now we have technologies which the doctors should, I think, more of creation should observe the establishment of the soul. Then yes, you have to, and if done so, you transfer the fields to, and you make a connection. If you don't feel any connection with, it means the soul is not created, especially the mother. And this is roughly what you have to understand. Or this is what scientifically we understand. You cannot connect to something which is not there. You connect to the soul of a child if you have a miscarriage at 20th month or 30th month. You see the mother's really get emotionally attached to, because they have a connection to the soul. And that goes with the same. Usually before 14 weeks, we don't see completion of the soul. The whole thing is a physical progress of making genes and division, individual souls. But the soul of physicality, soul of the man, has to be in completion. Because one has to support the other, and the other has to exist to be able to support it. But with the new technology which we are developing, and now, if you remember, years ago, I showed this position and actually the spot where the soul is. Now, developing technologies which, just 1 second, I have to answer to this message. 1 second, please. It's very important. Sorry about that. There's a structure where in the space you cannot do this. With the human body is possible with the delay of time due to physicality. In the creation of the soul of a child through the soul, or mitra, what we call it, the soul is already established before physicality. Thou shalt not kill, not even in the first day. And this is a part of the cycle which, as we mature to, we understand more. It's very interesting how these things work and how research has shown so much. In the recent past, with the development of technologies, it's possible scientifically change condition that women who are not, or the due to condition of the ovaries and the other things, do not release eggs on a regular basis due to whatever. With a new technology, the research shows you can change that. For the men who do not create sperm enough to lead to pregnancy, as we see, that's why most of the, what we call, fertility clinics work on the man and woman, because it's the man, whatever, with lazy eggs. Now it's possible through technology to change that. So now when you do that, then is it the right thing in that process with the new technology to embed within the structure of the body creation of the soul child? The same with the man. Those of you who are lucky enough, you understand the process, creation of children mitra, which are the children created through the soul, will not get addicted to sex, but you become complete with the creation of not needing to. You feel the creation through the soul. You physically feel it. The same with the mother. The same with the man. And the confirmation of existence. In the future, hopefully, we put a special program just for this to explain, and then you can train yourself to understand the creation of the children of Mitra. And then you see how they are created. You feel the motion of the soul. You feel the structure of the soul movement. And then those children cannot be reported because the womb of the mother is the sacrosanct for creation of that life. Because the soul is already embedded. Life is existing. Then the man, which first you make the physicality, and then the soul. There's a lot to teach, but man is not ready for this knowledge. Any other?
Well, perhaps we're ready for the knowledge that in Mark's question, who was present in the Keshe Plasma Reactor group yesterday. And his question is, he actually put a little 1-minute video together to have to do with this question. So I'll play that without the sound, or perhaps I should play it with the sound later, because
is there anything we might cause the problem, the sound?
No, it's just him talking about his little invention here having to do with the star formation or tetrahedral. He says that Mr. Keshe said at one point that he would add to the knowledge of the star formation or that tetrahedral configuration. So Mark is asking, what have the knowledge seekers missed? And can you give us another aspect or something to ponder about this topic? Other scientists may be listening, and it may help them in their research. So before you answer, Mr. Keshe, let me play his kind of cute little video here, and maybe it explains a little more about.
There's no sound.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Just a second.
Go back to beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to try and land the star formation. Sometimes it lands in the first go, and sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes you can just drop it and it just lands perfectly. Could be made into a little game, perhaps. You have to think about that. But I just made it as a representation of the star formation, and there it is. Even though once in a while I'll adjust these legs. We made this a few years ago, but it isn't interesting, and I've put fields in it and done different things with it, and of course conceptualized it, creating the free plasma in the center.
Okay, that's it. And so can you add to the knowledge of the star formation for Mark and others who would like to know?
Nowadays, in our research, we don't do the star formation the way it's done by most of the knowledge seekers. And we have taken a different path and we see different results. But you got to understand the star formation has different interpretation as a plasma of fields than the plasma of the matter. And we work at the moment with the plasma of the fields. And I've seen this before, and I was explaining actually today to one of our knowledge seekers. If you reach a point of creating plasma in all three in a correct way, and knowing that the plasma always finds its balance on its own, you cannot dictate the balance of it. You'll find out and you will see that you put the plasma in the positions that are now, as we see on the picture. But I cannot annotate on this, can I? How do I annotate?
Should be able to. Let me see if there's some setting I need to do.
Oh, scan without. We used to do it
You should be able to. It's not turned off right now. There's no disable for others is not activated.
I am trying to oopsie. No, I cannot write on this. I cannot annotate. Take the picture up. I'll go on my whiteboard and I explain.
Okay.
Whiteboard. Okay, we're coming up with whiteboard. Okay. You showed your 3 reactors. In the plasma reactors, if you, for example, create a plasma in this reactor like this, and you reach the point of balance for the field, not just because you put your reactors, they have to be here, as reactors have to find their own balance. You might actually find your reactors still in their position, but your plasma appears somewhere else. Usually, a few seconds before this happens, or a few seconds when this happens, because you see the plasma without actually, you say, oh, I put my reactors here, why the light is in the middle? And you might see one of the lights or 3 of the lights in different position, not necessarily where you put them, because this is the energy balance, magnetic gravitational balance between them as they balance each other. You find out you have your reactors, but you don't have your plasma. Plasma is outside, but maintained. And usually when this happens, you say, bye-bye, your set is gone. The whole thing finds its what you call positioning in respect to the ground level you are. And when you see them going through the ceiling or whatever, you never find them because they don't even, it's energy pack. And strange enough, they cover the whole of your even reactors. I've lost a few systems like this, and the first time you're shocked what happened, and then second, third time you can understand it, and you find exactly what happened and how it happens. You dictate this position of the reactor in the matter state. It does not mean that the plasma follows your wish, because once established, interacts with, and now it has to find a balance. The balance might sit here. And you will see this, and there's a way to lock it to the position. Always is in the same position. And so this is what the knowledge seekers have missed, and because of this, a lot of time cannot reach the desired effect. You haven't missed, you haven't understood fully. They say, in the language, we say, don't think what you wish is good for you. Don't think just because I built the reactor in the position I think it is with the command theory is the right position for it. It finds its own position. You missed a lot. A lot has been missed, about has been learned, and these are the things which Keshe Foundation research we are doing. We are quite aware of these things. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Had a question from Gail regarding some things you've said. Sorry? Let me take over, yeah. Sure. So, yes, question from Gail again from the Plasma Reactor Group. And she's quoting some things that you said about the cell. And she says, we know that calcium is in every cell and is considered a black hole. And also that the quote from you, I think, is we would be mush on the floor if it wasn't for calcium. So how is calcium linked with the carbon-12 and carbon-14? Is nitrogen part of that link?
Carbon-12, carbon is connected to carbon-12. It's got nothing to do with carbon-14. In a way it has, but not much.
You said carbon is connected with carbon-12. You mean calcium is connected with carbon-12?
And with carbon-12. Can you go on the Wikipedia and tell us what is the calcium? The atomic mass and atomic weight.
Just a second here.
I'll tell you a joke about calcium one day.
Joke about calcium?
Yeah.
It seems funny in itself.
It's about the history of the Keshe Foundation. When I started writing the first papers about myself and things, and I didn't want people to know, what do you call it, or not to go directly in target, I played with a lot of periodic table. I knew what it is. Anybody else doesn't make any sense. And I gave a few page note to someone to read it. And I put, what is potassium? We put K. And I put calcium instead of potassium, that they don't understand what it is. And this guy was a chemist, and he says, your technology is wrong because you don't even know the difference between calcium and potassium. And at that time, I don't want anybody to know that I use potassium for increasing the energy for creating nanomaterials. He said, there's no way you're going to get support from us, you don't know the difference. And I said in my head, you, God knows what, you don't even know why it's there. In the past, you know, in olden days, they used to write it in code. I knew whenever I wrote a calcium, it's potassium, because potassium increases the ionization effect to carbon, potassium 40. And whenever I say calcium, sometimes it reminds you of that guy. I said, if you knew what I knew and why I wrote it. Okay, what do you have as calcium? Can you read it to us?
We've got calcium is a chemical element, is a symbol Ca, an atomic number of 20. As an alkaline earth metal, calcium is a reactive metal that forms a dark oxide nitride layer when exposed to air. Shall I continue with that? Or?
So it's 20 and 40. Yeah. You have 20 Oh, I got my board back. Okay. Now, you got to understand this. You got hydrogen at 1. You have carbon 12. You have nitrogen 40. You have oxygen 16. Now, you got it back. You took it back, Rick. I lost my whiteboard.
I didn't do anything, but
Okay, let me get it back again. Okay, start again. You have carbon, so 12. You have hydrogen 1. You have nitrogen 40. And you have oxygen 60. 43. You have calcium isotope 43. I wish we could separate these that you could see. Now, maybe for the first time you understand which calcium is connected to human amino acid. And you understand has a deviation of 10% in the higher level. And then you add calcium 40. To have a calcium 40, it means you have to be lower by 3, which is isotope energy balance. We're not talking about the atomic, the number of electrons and protons. Energy balance to the energy of calcium 40. This is very hard, but once converted, very stable. So when you talk, we can't have, go back to calcium again, please.
okay, I'm not sure if I can do that without disturbing you.
We can come back to it.
Okay.
When you look at the bone structure of the man, we see calcium 43 on, let me just tell you, if you haven't changed, I can teach you something else. When you look at the bone of the man, the bone is hollow majority of the time because this is where we produce, is the cavity where we produce the, what do you call it? The bone marrow as they come through. The bone marrow conversion does not happen on the outer layer of the bone. It happens in the inner layer. In a way, the amino acid, let me give you a new page that I can explain it in a detail. I need a new page. How do I get a new page? One day I learned how to use this system. Oh, where it goes. I'm going to start a new page where you turn. These are part of this new thing which I have a problem with all the time. I open up the structure, then you understand scientifically what happens, why calcium is connected to the, what do you call it, the bone structure. The heavier the mass, the harder and closer to matter state. Here, majority of the bone are calcium 43. Here, the majority of calcium is carbon 40.
You mean calcium 40, correct?
No. Sorry, the calcium 40, yeah.
Right.
But,
okay.
but very interesting is that the lymph has to wriggle its way to come here to become part of bone marrow. The way the system works is heavier feeds the lighter in the strength, the stronger feeds the weaker. Due to carbon 43 outside, so calcium 43 outside, and a calcium 40 in the center, the lymph, due to being, in a way, plasmatic, moves to a lower strength to come. It's still got element of amino acid in it as its lymph. So when it gets to this point, its plasmatic field motion brings it to this point. Now your calcium is calcium 40. But the material arrives in a new environment, and the amino acid of the bone marrow is 40. It needs, as long as it's weaker, it will stay in that position. It needs to be rejected to and outside of the bone. So now you come with a different structure. This is the head of the bone. It's soft tissue. It's softer than the bone itself. Now, this bone marrow, this bone area is soft and is nano layers in a very specific way, and certain strengths can go through, get repelled by field motion. So, to get repelled, to get moved, you have to create a condition that now you need a support from another element, which in a way converts the amino acid with, because of the pressure of the bone marrow, converts to calcium. But this is calcium 40, is not calcium 43. And becoming a calcium, it attaches itself, it gets embedded inside of the amino acid, which is 43. These nanolayers have certain affinity to certain strengths of the calcium because it's of their own, and the amino acid inside the bone marrow. Creation of the rejection of the fields. As bone marrow is pulled up, in a way pushes itself out, you have a field fold rejection. Then this amino acid uses the calcium inside as a weight of a slingshot to move out through the nanolayers. So the calcium in the cell, inside the amino acid to become a cell, is product of the calcium 40. In the environment of bigger field of 43. And if the scientists understand, which a lot of scientists understand, The calcium we have in our blood, in every cell, is calcium 40, not calcium 43. And in amino acid, the stronger trying to feed the weaker makes the plasmatic magnetic field of the calcium as a center point. This is how it becomes the gravity. You have proteins and the structure amino acid that are all 43. The only reason they come together is because of the calcium 40. In a way, they're trying to feed it to make a connection to create a balance. And through the process of its work, is releasing all the energy out. And then it becomes energy, becomes a propeller for it to reject out of the body. This is one of the reasons why we even have a bone in the center of all our structure. And this is why you have heavy tissues on the back, the loin, where you don't have much muscle cover on the ribs. That muscle structure carries a very, very light calcium and comparison very heavy, what you call amino acid in the order of 45, 47, where normally it's 43. This gives it different texture. So when it's heavier and it pulls more, radiates out, it can cover the hollow section of the what we call even the stomach. This is why we don't have anything between the ribs and our hip. This is where, if you look, your loins, the back loins are the strongest. The calcium inside takes the job of covering to feels the shape. And that's why majority of us run into back problem. When you have a back problem, look at your calcium level. The strength is not there because the conversion of the copper, which is 64, 62, and 60s, which produces the muscle tissues, supports the muscle life, is concentrated with a calcium 40 in the center. So it becomes very tight. And that tightness creates tough tissue, but that tough tissue creates a massive magnetic field which replaces the calcium as rib cage. And you see, the minute you come to the tail end, even the animals, the muscle thins out because the hip takes that position of the calcium gravitational field balance. Those of you who suffer from the back problem, especially around the hip, look at your calcium structure. You'll find out very quickly you can solve it. Because it's there, it's built that way. And so the calcium, its position, its shape, and because it's in the center of every cell through the bone marrow, dictates our life, dictates our structure, even dictates our emotion. As I said, you see the position of the soul and position of the heart. You can see what kind of person it is. The calcium of the skull of the man creates certain fields, and the shape of it creates certain characters, certain behaviors. And that shape of the skull, the calcium used, dictates the orientation of the cells of the brain of the man and the connection of the plasma of the emotion. Creation is very simple once you understand it, and then you see how it is. That's why if you understand the magnetic field, your loins on the back of your spine dictate the position of your kidney, dictates the strength of your kidney. because it's not just the loin. You have to look what field it creates, what it covers. Why do we have all the liver and kidneys and everything up near our chest cavity? Right on the top, the stomach is at the bottom. Because the combination of field of the back muscle, the loins, and the rib cage magnetic field dictates I can hold on to heavier material, the liver, the things that can hang on me, but it's magnetic field, but they create all sorts of things for it to be. And if you understand this, you can take the liver out, create that field, support that field. You see the liver to be created again from fresh. You have to understand, at the point of birth, there was no liver. How did it come there? Because the rib cage and the stomach or whatever created a field that field allows construction of something we call liver, storage capacity, automatic feeding. Why do we have two kidneys on two sides? I explained before. Because the magnetic field of the emotional plant trying to brings it to where it has to be, and this is the best position. Feel the strength, confirm this position. And then condition of the salinity and everything else dictates the structure. The position of our organs is decided by our bone structure and the muscle tissue strength. Inside is decided by what we call the needs of the soul of the man. These things you have to understand why calcium is in the center of everything. You have amino acid of 43, 45. You need to hold the things together to be able to go through rejection of the bone marrow and the soft tissue magnetic field layers of the nanomaterial on the head of your bone. Why if you get a chicken bone, if you get any bone, why is it different color? Why is it sometimes darker? Have you looked at your nanomaterial? Have you seen how porous it is? It's just, you cannot scrape a layer of copper from the copper plate with your nail. You make it nano layer by layer a week, and you just rub it and it's on your finger. It's the same copper. It's the positioning of it. And your top of your bone, that brownish you see with, or a slightly different color, is the same. Is a space gap. Is total nano on top of our head of, especially our femur, is totally structured from nano layers. And what space gap we say energy hides in it, that's a space gap dictates what energy is pulled out of the bone marrow to go back into the blood vessel. Knowledge of creation is very simple, if you understand it. And when you understand this, you can create systems to deliver certain behaviors. And this is why you have, what do you call it, the amino acid through the pressure on the inner layer, what you call the process of lymph from inside the bone to inside. That amino acid converts into matter state which can stand the gravitational field of the planet, which is calcium. Calcium doesn't come through your bone marrow and become calcium from here, calcium coming through. Its lymph, as it comes through the magnetic field, converts into calcium 40. We don't eat, our body doesn't just produce, what do you call it, holds the calcium and rejects it. And this is made this way. Don't forget, the lymph as it comes in is energy packed, but it's got amino acid with it. Already has a seed of the calcium with it. That's why it gets pulled in. And then in this process of gaining more energy in the bone structure, matures and manifests itself as a seed of the lymph which it came in conversion. we forever recycle protein or recycle production and creation of calcium in the body. Now you know. Just follow knowledge of the creation. We can always feed the light. The amino acid cannot be inside at 43. By being outside, you need something to hold it together, which is the calcium, because this planet decides this. Gravitational magnetic field of the Earth decides calcium to have this game, this position. If you think of it in a different way, calcium production and maintenance is like a donkey. Calcium is the donkey of carrying amino acids of different energies to different positions. And when it gets there, it delivers. And when it's surplus, it comes back to conveyor belt to be reloaded. If its energy is below, I calculate it was about below 38, 36, we reject it as part of our rejection system through intestines. If it is above, is 46, 48, it becomes a seed for cancer. Because then it takes more and more of a solid state matter. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I think Gail will be playing that excerpt back quite a few times to extract the information. Thank you. We have 3 questions from George in the chat, who says, "Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for your new products. It will make me very happy if you could release a product of the twinity type for the victimization syndrome, people who have been victims, and now even the traumatic event is gone, their mind is still looping into that traumatic time and space, even decades after. Thank you." What do you think about a victimization syndrome twinity?
Traumas are emotions, and they have certain field strength. We understand it partially, and you cannot make a twinity GANs for such a thing, as it has a different spectrum of energy with different people. But through the universal system in Germany, you can change that. With Ganses you cannot do, because it's different field strength, and the systems in Germany and Austria, the remote systems are built for this job.
Okay, well, that leads into the second question, which is a question from the last time, Mr. Keshe. If you could help us to understand how to fix or elevate the negative emotions that belong to us and or have been inherited from our ancestors. Part of the answer is by twinity, part is transmuting. But for those who have access to neither of these, the solution would be?
Can you read it again?
Okay, if you could help us understand how to fix or elevate the negative emotions that belong to us and or we have inherited from our ancestors, part of the answer is by the, I assume, the twinity products, and part is by the transmuting processes that have been offered. But for those who have access to neither of these, the solution would be what? Please teach us more deeply about elevating emotions. Thank you.
Elevating emotions. You got to understand that you cannot just promote emotions. You have to understand where that emotion comes from, what's the reason of it. Because emotion is characteristics of what you call partially the behavior. I'm trying to find a way to explain it. You cannot. You can create certain emotions which can help the other emotions to, what do you call it, to elevate or to reach a new level, or for you to achieve certain things with them. But it is a lot of I'm trying to find a way to explain it that makes sense. As always said, for example, you can't ask someone, I pay you to love me, or I pay you to trust me. It has to be understood and shared and elevated. And this goes the same with emotions. Does not matter what emotion you talk about. And the best way to do it, to find the nearest emotion to, and try to move from one emotion to another in a way you feed it. But not the opposite to. Not what they call it, sadness and joy. But what is next to joy emotion? Happiness. What is next to happiness? Content. And so you move across a content to happiness to joy. And it's very easy to elevate these kind of emotions. And we gradually learn how to live with these conditions. And it's very easy. Then you find out, if I'm content, I'm happy. If I'm happy, I am joyful. It needs a lot of understanding of one's self emotion and the spectrum of emotion, because now with the space technology, we are learning about new emotions we didn't know. And because if you learn how to connect with others and how to move from one to another, we can do with what we know already too. Any other question?
George's third question was, or comment, he would be very happy if you could release a Trinity-like product for chronic constipation. It may sound silly, but if you are constipated, your entire health and social connections are very affected in a negative way. Plus, you don't think right, you don't act right. Thank you.
We have already developed this years ago. This is in our vocabulary of knowledge. Maybe in the future we might do. but you actually don't need it. It's a different structure, because you have to find out how it has come about. It has a psychological, emotional condition. And you have to understand it. Sometimes it happens through the physical dimension, but some of these have an emotional reason behind it. Then you can sort it. It's not everything can be done with a gun. So on twin guns, yes, we touch the emotion, but you have to understand what happens. Is there physically, what do you call it? There's some research done by, don't ask me how I know this information, but goes back in my business time. If you look at certain shape of what we call the European toilets, manufacturers produce toilet seats according to nationality, according to the culture. And they've done a lot of these tests with a lot of things, how you sit and whatever. And certain seating of European seats especially creates condition of constipation. And the manufacturers know that. Because it positions your hip in a certain way. Okay, it fits the Chinese, but it won't fit the European. It's a different shape of a structure, and they change. You think you go to a manufacturer and you buy a toilet and whatever, but they've done studies on these things, that what does the shape of the toilet affects how your colons work. And yes, it does. If you have, and you lived in a house for a long time, change your toilet and see if it changes. Change your habit and see if it changes. I got to know this in a totally different way through my business life. And you find out, if you go, for example, to Malta, the toilets doesn't matter where you go, majority of toilets in the hotels are what we call baby toilets, short. And because it's an island, everything is a small population, usually shorter than average of the rest of Europe. So they build these short toilets. And you find out in research, they associate a lot of problems for long-term stay people in Malta regarding constipation and the rest. But all you get used to, there's nothing there. Look at your psychological, and then you might find an answer to it. On the other hand, there is a lot of things to do with how we see tension with us. If you're constipated, you look at the stress point and your eating habit, what created to create a lazy, what do you call it, intestine. You have to find out, go back where you started and see what change you made that time in your life. And then you find an answer. Every time you have a disease or you have a condition, go back 5 to 7 years, observe what you've done. You find the answer, you don't need a doctor. And then you find fix that 7 years ago, fix that 5 years ago. 6, what happened 3 years ago. And then you'll find out you'll find what the reason is. If you can fix it and how it's happened, and if it is, if you can reverse it. Psychology of the position and the memory, because that thing created the effect. Always, you have a cancer of a certain part, go back. Find out what that cancer has to do with what emotion, and then find out how that emotion was created, for what reason, when you do. Don't lie to yourself, you find an answer. And then go back in how you felt, what emotion it created in you. And then you find out how you started your cancer. Can you reverse the emotion because of what you felt? Yes, it can be done, but it's a bit complicated. Emotion with the, as I said in the last teachings, creates in conjunction with the structure of the body of the man certain condition of solidification. You change that, it's like, you know, at 40 degrees, nothing happens. So you go 42 degrees, in the freezer goes ice, block, solid. Find out which temperature, what emotion, gauge the strength you created that solidification. The new cancer development and its success is totally regarding this, understanding this process. Many of the constipations comes from fear. And once it sets, you carry it. You find that you're very good, but when you go somewhere, out of fear or whatever, you cannot do, it stops. And then sort out the fear and the emotion of it. Any other question? Rick, I've sent you some messages on the channel. If you can put 3 of them up, because I received a message from the webmasters, or what they call it, people, to put these up, because it's important for some of the knowledge seekers. Can you put them up together, all 3 of them, and come out? Have you seen them? Hello, Rick?
Yes, let me just share here.
Thank you.
Oops.
You still got your other picture in the back. These are, as we said, Keshe Foundation is opening in conjunction with knowledge seekers around Europe. Yeah. What we call the retail shops in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And we try to promote this on the website. If you want to buy the products of the Keshe Foundation physically and see more products or whatever, or you want to buy services of Keshe Foundation, these shops now are operating in these 3 countries. Soon there'll be more of them. They exclusively only sell Keshe Foundation products and the future products which come up under different licensing. So you found out, for example, the one in Austria will have a, what do you call it, a workshop in September. It's a shop within another structure of the, what do you call, the restaurant, but it's one of those most beautiful places. You can have a barbecue of the fish directly from near, what do you call it, one of the branches of the, what do you call, Danube, and it's a place to go And at the same time, these shops are connected to other structures, which is very normal in Europe. And so we are promoting the people who start these kind of things. And you find most of the products, Keshe Foundation, you don't need to order, you can just buy and walk away with the products. And they do running their workshops and the seminars and the rest, which we support with them because contractually they're part of the Keshe Foundation outlets work, shape, or form. Thank you very much. Is there any other question?
We had an interesting question in German in our Q&A here. We've got actually quite a few questions in the Q&A, and I know we're running short on time here. But from Michael in German, says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe." Says that you said months ago that the GANs era is over. So why the change now? And that we wanted to get away from the GANSs. Why do we see the GANSs being offered currently?
We offer these GANSs temporarily till the what we call enhancement units are fitted with this. And we're learning where the mistakes are, where we can improve it. That once we make the solid states, we cannot change it so easy. We use it as a stepping stone to the future developments of the field replication.
And to be clear, you're using the fields of the GANs, not the actual GANs materials themselves, correct? They're made to be transfer the fields to water and not the mixing the GANs in the water, which is quite a bit different.
Yes, when you receive these materials, you see is a big difference between these materials than you had before. And they are 3 layers of material in it. We have managed to understand more, but because of the structure, we add new materials to it. And those materials are just like agents. They're not the actual performing the gases, but that's what I said, it's the development in technology. And these gases are not the usual gases you ever had before. You understand it when you get it. And for example, with the stamina gas, we advise you to at least add something else to it that we will recommend when you receive it, you know what you have to do and what we can replace it in the system ourselves. These are what we call trial units, and the feedback we get allows us to set up our fields. It's very simple. We don't constantly produce. That's why if you listen before, I said there are very few pieces of this. This is not going to be forever there. We do a trial of 150, and what we get response back from you, which knowledge seekers usually write back to us what was and what the effect is, allows us to set up our system. As I said, the technology is advanced in so many ways beyond imagination that as we want to add, we have to go to what you understand, what is available to you, then to come back to us. Most of people with it, you will see now we introduced the twin system, 27. In the next few days, maybe next couple of weeks, you will get the twin system, but you receive a GANs at home, you connect through the headphones to the wellness center. Sometimes you only need to hold the GANs in your hand while you're in touch your headphone to connect it to the wellness center. This, when it's completed, will tell you. Sometimes you need to cover your hand with the GANs, and when you hold your phone with your headphone, we create a circuit we need to do. Let me explain to you, most of you, I'm sure most of you knowledge seekers don't even have never understood the process. We give you the gases. The gas needs energy transfer. Put the gas water on your knee. Okay. Put the gas on your head. You do. No connection. But what changes the condition and the work of the gas? Remember, part of the teaching always we tell you, once connected cannot be changed. You have a connection like a mother and child. You used, now I have to go to one step back to come forward. The evolution of the man comes because man can move from horizontal to vertical. We sleep flat, we walk vertical. So there's a variation of the fields, brings continuous maturity, a spectrum of fields to be used. You look at your, let's say, let's even call the best example is the knee GANs, or the best example is the cycle GANs. You don't put the GANs doesn't jump on your skin, the motor, on its own. You have to use your hand. And now you have two hands which are continuously moving, covered with GANs. And you have the knee connection. It's the hand which put the GANs on the knee. Now you understand. You're continuously changing the dimension of the fields by motion of your hands because of the GANs you carry on your hand, which you rub on your knee. Your hands is part of the system. Everything which I have given you, but it's hidden in a different way. You look at the communication system, has got two hands. Why do you need your hand when you can do it? Because it connects the physicality to the dimensional variation in fields. You'll find when you put the GANs water on your knee, you go and wash your hand, you hear the different effect because now he has to work on his own. When you use a knee GANs, you put it on the hip, you create circulation. This is a mobile circulation. When you use these GANs in whichever form you use, you will see when you dip it into the GANs water, you get different things on your syringes. Never turn them over. With the new GANs, always use a syringe. 5 milliliter syringe is there. We try to post it with every pack you see. When you dip it in, take that oil and with it, rub on your skin. Because that's not GANs, but it brings a different, what we call it, a structure which we are looking for. And these are not simple, these are very complicated structures which we have developed. I told you what we developed, we can't even go public with it. So we use, and then we transfer this one in our systems. We produce some amino acids which are specific for certain jobs, for certain diseases, and are tested. Once we complete the cycle of testing, we use the implication in the field application in the system. Any other question?
Well, depending on how long you want to hold out here, Mr. Keshe.
I'm just about to go. I had
Yeah,
enough.
I think so.
Yeah, it's about a few minutes, 3 hours and something.
Yep. If people have
There is
questions, they can save them for next week, and we'll have another go at them.
no problem. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for being there, supporting us with what we are doing, and hopefully sooner or later things will take a different shape. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, number 553, on Thursday, August 29th, 2024. Many thanks for today's workshop, and thank you everyone for attending as well, and for the great questions that have been asked that help us spread the knowledge. Let me see, let me check the calendar. We have the next public teaching workshop. We will be into September already, and on September 3rd will be our One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace with members of the Universal Council and support members. And the public's invited to that. It starts at 4 p.m. Central European Summer Time. And also we have, just to prepare people for second Monday in September, be September 9th, will be our public meeting for testimonials. And that's a good opportunity for those that have had some experience of the plasma technology to share it with others. And that's kind of a way you can help pay back for receiving that knowledge. And we always have some great testimonials in that workshop. And that starts at the 8 p.m. Central European Summertime. There'll be reminders in the next week or two. Okay, I think that's it for now. And we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit music version. And again, thank you everybody for attending. Bye for now.